The Accord's in the shop. It's below 20 degrees Celsius. I'm freezing cold. The shop is now wet. And well, this car in the shop can really only mean one thing. And just so happens that in 1 week, all of my cars, except for the Civic, so my two dailies, broke down on me and left me stranded as I'm trying to come and go from work. Now, we gotta fix it. Well, you heard me loud and clear, boys. Both my dailies, the F-150 and our CB7 Accord, left me stranded, left both of us stranded, and screwed us this week. And of course, it's the coldest week of the year. I'm talking like -20 to -25 below zero. Average. It's been miserable. Your boy's been absolutely freezing cold. Still am freezing cold, and although we leave the shop heater on, it's really not warm in here. Now the Civic's outside experiencing -20 degrees and snow, which never happens, but I'll tell you what I'm not doing outside, and it's diagnosing and fixing this thing. But let me just give you guys a brief little recap. So first, the truck. So I drive the thing to work, all is well, nothing's wrong. I work my full shift, I get off, I walk out to the parking lot. Granted, it's still -20 degrees. This happened just this week. And I'm about to turn the thing on, but as I'm walking to the truck, I'm like, wow, that's a big pool under the car, and the truck's been sitting here for 8 hours. So I was like, if it's just water from all the snow and stuff on the road, it should have either froze or evaporated by now. And there's a big pool of unevaporated liquid on the ground, meaning one thing. It's a fluid that is supposed to be inside the engine. And it was. I'll throw up some photos here and potentially a video if I have one. The upper rad hose has a like plastic Y pipe that cracked and let all the coolant out of the engine. Amazing, fantastic. To be honest, that truck has had more issues in like the 5-6 months that we've owned it and driven it than this 30-year-old Accord has had in the last 4 years. And not to mention, it almost has 300,000 kilometers on it. But the day the truck breaks, the Accord, not for the first time ever, but very rare that this happens, also left us stranded. Could we have driven it? Sure. Should we have? No, because the power steering is leaking out yet again. And it happened less than 12 hours after the truck. So I brought the truck home, made an appointment at my old work, which was a shop, bring it there the next morning. We go to jump in the Accord. She gets in it, she fires it up, scraping off the windshield. I'm like, wow, same deal. That is a big ass puddle under the Accord. First it was a big ass puddle under the truck. Now it's a big ass puddle under the Accord. And I thought it was engine oil at first, but turns out it's power steering. Pump must be cavitating. You pop the lid off the reservoir and it's just frothy in there. So it's leaking bad. I didn't want to run the pump dry and burn it out because there's several hundreds of dollars. Didn't have time to come to the shop and take the belt off. So we went from 2 cars to 0 cars in less than 12 hours. Regardless, let's pop the hood. Let's check this thing out because either I'm going to fix it today or it's going back to manual steering, which I really don't want. Yeah, that is filthy. Oh, it's not cavitating anymore though. But why is it leaking? Interesting. Let me give you guys a close-up view of what I'm seeing. I wish I took a video of it because I don't think the pump is cavitating anymore. It might have been a weird shock when it was -20 degrees and I turned the steering wheel too abruptly and too soon that caused it to just pressure out oil and let it cavitate. But I can tell you it's still dripping from underneath the car. But I can't tell if it's residual or new. But I just pulled the cap off and it's not frothy in there anymore, and it is at the level it should be, which doesn't make any sense because it leaked a lot of fluid out. I don't know what's going on. All right, so power steering reservoir, nice and greasy. As you can see, we've got some there, down in there. It's all nice and wet. And then if we go under the car, as we can see, it is consistently dripping. And you can see on the splash shield, it's all wet. What really shocks me is that when I pulled this pump off yesterday when this happened, this was pure froth in there. And now it's just clear liquid again. And it is completely filled up. So what the hell is going on? And of course, being an EXR CB7, there is literally everything in my way. Could be a hose clamp, could be a hole in the line or something. But this car's been in the shop for 5 minutes and it's already leaking. So do I have a game plan? Absolutely not. I guess I'm just gonna have to start taking stuff apart, see if I can find anything. All right, Accord's up in the air. I guess let's just try and see where it's leaking from. Is it residual? Is it fresh? Is it actually the power steering? Let's find out. All right, boys, you and me, let's get underneath this car and let's see what we can see. Hopefully it is just the power steering. Let's check it out, boys. Let's check it out. Crawling underneath the car. Ooh. All right. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, hell no. Oh my God, it goes all the way over there too. What? It's constantly dripping. It just dripped on the mat from right there. That's coolant. I don't know if you guys can see that. That drip right there is green. This is not power steering. That makes sense why the power steering reservoir is completely filled and not frothy anymore. This is not power steering. Oh my God. I don't even know what to do. The only place coolant can leak out of this car on this side is one thing, and it's the goddamn water pump, which means I'd have to retime the entire engine and do a goddamn water pump. Oh my God. What the hell, dude? We got to check the cooling system. We have got to check the cooling system and see if there's coolant in this thing. We either potentially blew a head gasket if there's no coolant in this, or we blew a water pump. The only place it can come out of on that side of the car is from the water pump. Let's check the coolant. All right, this is not good at all. The car's been in here for 20 minutes now, 30 minutes. These hoses should be hot. If they're not, we are in deep, deep trouble. Oh no, what the fuck? Oh no. Oh my God, the core is the core is freezing cold. Both of these hoses are dude, no. Oh my God. You guys cannot see in there to save your life. There's no coolant in this car. Dude, no. There was some pressure. God, I've gotten burned so bad. Bro. No way. Dude, I thought I was coming here to either fix the power steering or take the belt off so it would stop leaking until parts came in. We either just blew a head gasket or blew a water pump. I think we blew a water pump because it's leaking externally. Usually when you blow a head gasket, it doesn't leak externally. I guess let's check the oil, see if the dipstick is frothy, pop the oil cap, see if anything's frothy. There is no coolant in that overflow. There is no coolant in this radiator. Did we just nuke the Accord? The trusty CB7 Accord. 30 years old, 300,000 K. I think we just took out a water pump. And if that's the case, that's really, really shitty because that's more than a one-day job. I mean, I have to take out the power steering pump, the alternator, the AC pump, the throttle system, the power steering reservoir, just to get at this, undo the motor mount, leave the motor on a jack stand, tear it all down, and do a whole timing belt and water pump kit on this, just like we did on our B18B. Problem is, if you can see my shop, there's no room for the Civic to fit in here while I do this. And maybe some of you guys can do this in a day, no big deal, but this is longer than a day project for me. Solo dolo, with all the stuff in here. These F-Series engines are very funky, very finicky. Wouldn't be too hard to do a whole timing belt and everything on it, but with everything in the way, like this car is slammed, like absolutely slam packed. And it would just be a multiple day project, and I don't have anywhere to store the Civic other than here. And with it being -20 outside and snowing every single day, I am not leaving the Civic anywhere but in this heated shop. And I think we just nuked a water pump. I already know the compression's low. It burns oil. I'm just gonna stop talking. Let's pull the cap, let's pull the dipstick and see if it's a head gasket, because we have zero coolant in this car, and either that's what's leaking out and has been leaking out longer than I've noticed, which has just been a few days, or the head gasket's gone. Let's pull the dipstick in the oil cap. The oil does look thin. It's moving quickly, but it's not bubbly, and it just looks like oil. It's not even that dark. I'll show you guys here. Look how thin it is. If I tilt it like this, look how quick it drips down. That's a little bit thin, I'm not gonna lie, especially since the oil has had some time to cool off now. There's no bubbles. Doesn't look like coolant, but I will say this thing smells, oh Jesus. This thing smells like a two-stroke dirt bike, which means fuel, unburnt fuel is getting past the rings and mixing with it, hence why it could be so thin. This whole, I just wiped the oil off. This whole dipstick smells like a goddamn two-stroke dirt bike. So it almost has 300,000 kilometers. We know it's low compression. We bought this car for like $1,000. Someone drove into it a few winters ago and totaled the rear end. And fuel is clearly mixing with the oil. It smells like a two-stroke dirt bike, and the oil is thin, which means the rings are loose or something's cracked in there. I guarantee you this engine's fairly low compression. It's been kind of on the fritz for a bit. We just figured, you know, with the payout from someone smashing into the rear end and the abysmal amount of money that we paid for it, that we were kind of just going to run it into the grave. And I didn't think it would be this soon, but we might have just run this car into the grave. With oil that's thin like that, I only changed this like 3 months ago. It hasn't been long since this oil is in there. It's still golden, but with it being so thin, and the whole dipstick smells like a two-stroke, fuel is clearly mixing with the oil. It's already bad. And now I think we just blew up a water pump, because it's not frothy, doesn't smell or look like coolant, but it is thin from fuel getting in there. Let's put this back and let's pull the oil cap. Oh, fuck. Holy fuck. That smells like you just fired up a YZ125 and shoved your face in the exhaust. That literally smells like a two-stroke, like to the T. The whole motor smells like a goddamn two-stroke, man. So yeah, we have fuel mixing with oil. Another problem to add to the list, meaning this thing's probably low compression and tired, obviously. Air stock everything at 300,000 kilometers almost. And I don't think it's a head gasket. I don't see anything frothy, but I'm gonna go ahead and confirm there's fuel mixing with oil. And the only place for water or coolant to leak out of this car is from the front on the rad and the overflow, on the passenger side from the upper and lower hoses and thermostat, and all the sensors. But the only place to leak out on this side of the car is the goddamn water pump. And that kind of makes sense why we thought it was oil dripping on the ground, because this thing's been caked in oil. It's got a few miscellaneous oil leaks kind of all over. Most of them we fixed, but there's still residual caked on oil. So that coolant's leaking out, pulling that oil, and it's leaking a mixture of coolant and oil. But this thing has zero coolant in it, and the dipstick, the head, and the oil cap reek like a two-stroke dirt bike. I hate to say it, the time might have come for our CB7 Accord, man. I did not think it would be this soon. I was really hoping that this would last this winter and that I could get an 8th gen once it starts to get nice outside, because we still got another 2-3 months of this garbage weather. But unfortunately, the time might have come for this. Even if I do a whole new timing belt and water pump, we still have unburnt fuel getting past the rings and thinning out our oil, which is bad in and of itself. This thing got an oil change, like I said, a couple months ago. The oil's still golden and it's so thin that it flows down the dipstick, and the whole thing reeks like a 2-stroke. I thought I was coming here today to fix power steering. Now I'm pissed. I don't even know what to do. All right, guys, so under here is a big splash tray. I'm gonna go ahead, zip this off, and just see if it doesn't give us any more insight. We can kind of get a closer look at this whole ordeal. Once that's off, we'll take a closer look, but I think it's pretty concise to say that it's probably hooped. I mean, my poor Accord, man. She was such a trooper. We drove this thing winter, summer, fall, spring for 4 years. Practically zero issues. And hate to say it, I think her time has come. I've been hinting an 8th gen a lot. Maybe the world's just telling me, hey, go buy a goddamn 8th gen, because, well, now I need a daily, and it's not the Civic. So I'm gonna shut up. Let's pull the splash shield off. Okay, tray is off. Let's get a closer look. Yeah, if you can see, there is a ton of fresh fluid all around both sides of the crank. And I don't know if you can see that right there, but that is a green drop. That is coolant. And like I said, the only place it can leak out of on this side is the water pump. And the timing cover is soaking wet with coolant, and so is the bottom of the oil pan. The front of it is also soaking wet. Oh boy, I think it's safe to say we nuked a water pump, but with that fuel mixing with the oil, I don't know if it's worth it. And as we can see right there, looks like also maybe a front main seal, the crank seal might be leaking out oil, but I think it's more likely that all this coolant leaking out is pulling off all this stuck on, caked on oil and leaking it all off. Because if we can see, there is shades of green in this. It's not just pure oil whatsoever. And it's just coming from everywhere. I think it's safe to say our water pump is absolutely nuked. The bottom of the pan, even here, is all green if you look close enough. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to tell you that your water pump's kaput skied. But like I keep saying, with that fuel getting past the rings, mixing with the oil, is it even worth putting a goddamn water pump and timing belt kit in this thing? Put it in the comments below. I'd like to be more energetic like I usually am on YouTube, but as much as you guys don't see this car very often, it is my literal daily driver. We have the truck as well, but this is my daily driver. And I just lost it. And it's not a time of the year where I could even go against my own will and daily the Civic, because that car is just a chore to drive in and of itself. And waking up at 5, 6 a.m. to go fire that thing up and go through the whole procedure just to get to work sounds like a nightmare in and of itself. People always say, make sure you have a solidified build plan. You know what you want to do with your car before you build it, because the minute you don't and you just start going nuts and buying all these cool parts that you see online, you'll overbuild your car and it'll turn into a chore. And unfortunately, that happened with me. I didn't have a clear goal. I wanted a drag car. I wanted a street car. I wanted a track car. And now the Civic is overbuilt and it is a chore to take out, hence why I don't drive it very much. But I literally just lost my daily driver. So time to pull out Marketplace and see what we have for 8th Gen SIs in the middle of winter, which is probably nothing. Okay guys, so basically gonna pull this thing out. It's gonna be her last hurrah for a little bit. I'm going to take the battery fully out of it and also pull the fuel pump fuse just to be extra sure. But regardless, this thing's clapped beyond belief. Fire the sucker up, back it out, bring the Civic back in, pull the battery, pull the fuse, take all my belongings out of it. I might even unthread the license plates and put them inside the car And yeah, bad news today, really bad news today. And now we don't even have a way to get home, which is awesome. All right, now time to see what I carry in my daily. Let's pop the trunk, see if I've got anything in here. Oh yes, some clothes, some bags, pull all that out, pull out all the insurance, the paperwork, probably pull my radio out as well. But just jump in, grab this fucker, yoink it out. There we go. Got my radio, got my paperwork, put the hood down. Not gonna latch it because I'm gonna pull the battery, but I need to drive this thing out of here. This thing's a unit. It's too heavy to push. This thing actually weighs a freaking metric ton. It's crazy. No more Honda Accord. Well, there you have it. Let's go outside, pull the battery, pull the fuse, lock this thing up. What do you do? Sockets and the Milwaukee is not gonna cut it for that. So let's grab a 12, I believe. Let's get this battery off. Yeah, there we go. Just pull this ground off. This one's seized on there pretty good. Oh God, look at all that. Look at garbage. All right. Oh my God, the handle snapped off this battery. Oh. All right. Battery can go over here. Now let's grab needle nose and pull the fuse. Okay, so I'm just pulling the ECU fuse. Just like that. Fuse is pulled. Grab my tools, batteries out, ECU fuse in hand. God damn it. All right, boys. Well, I hate to end it on such a sour note, but it's just kind of one of those things. It's a bummer. You had a daily, now you don't have a daily. Got a race car? Cool. Can't drive it right now. Too cold, too snowy. What are you gonna do? So looks like a lot of carpooling and taxis in the future. Scour the marketplace here, see if I can get an 8th Gen SI. I don't want to go out of my way and waste money on a car that I don't want. That isn't gonna bring cool stuff to the channel, because the whole plan, I've been teasing this 8th Gen SI for how long now? Every video for like 3 months, it feels like. And I'll just be honest with you. The plan was, I never really defined the plan. I was just talking about it and hinting it. The plan was to run the Accord out through this winter. Spring come around, we know it's not going to dip below 0. We know there's no more snow in the forecast, probably March, April. We were going to list up the Accord, sell it cheap, just cheap. I'm not trying to make any money off it, but we also don't need it. And $1,000, whatever, someone come take it. And go buy an 8th Gen SI and be like, boom, winter's over, cold's done, woohoo. A Civic can sit pretty in the shop, fully built. We can take it out to have fun on the weekends. And we got a new daily, the 8th Gen SI, and I'll be able to get a lot more Instagram photos and driving videos and just more content overall driving a car that's cool every day than an CB7 Accord, right? So the Accord unfortunately didn't make it through its 4th winter in our ownership. It was close. It's February, but it didn't make it. That's okay. It's gonna suck for now. Gonna have to squirrel away some money and hopefully grab an 8th Gen SI if I can even find one. I have honestly been looking all winter, and even though it's winter, not a lot of people are selling their cool cars like that. I haven't really found any. Regardless, the Accord is done for. Could you do a timing belt water pump? Yeah, I mean, I did it on that one. You guys watched me do it. But with the fuel, getting past the rings, mixing with the oil and thinning it out to the consistency of like coolant and water, even in a short period of a few months since my last oil change, that's heinous. And I don't think it's worth doing all of that labor and money on a timing belt and water pump with those other accessory issues. So whether it gets scrapped, whether somebody wants to buy it for cheap, Who knows? Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Hopefully nobody comes through here and tries to smash it out or anything. Knock on wood, because then it's just going to be even harder to sell with missing glass and stuff. And then the interior, which is the best part of the car, it's all OEM, no rips, no nothing, is going to get destroyed from the weather and people. But if it comes down to that, we always have scrap yards. Of course, I'm going to try and sell it. See if someone wants a project for cheap, just take it off my hands. But for now, I gotta come up with a new game plan, boys. Comment, like, subscribe. I really need your support right now. Maybe it's time to open up a merch store, because your boy needs money for cars. Your boy needed money for car parts for the last few years, but now your boy needs money for a car. Period. What do you do? Like I said, boys, comment, like, subscribe. Appreciate the love. Brash Garage to the moon 2025. I'll figure something out and we'll come back bigger, better than ever. If there's a small hiatus in videos, this is probably why. I was going to sink some more money into the Civic, but now that's going to be better spent on a new channel car / daily for me. So that's not going to be coming as soon as I would have liked. So we're going to have to get creative with content, but don't worry. We got this shit on lock, boys. You'll see me soon. I'm not going anywhere. Don't be scared if there's a little bit of a blip in long form videos. Big things are coming, and well, they have to happen sooner than I was anticipating. Life happens. What do you do? We'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace out.